In today's rather festive gameplay video, the defenders of the holiday season battle an influx of materialistic zombies as we play a modified game of Pulp Alley Second Edition, Deadrise in Christmas Village. Hello folks, and season's greetings. This is Lee from SkirmishWarGames.com. I'm here with Lynn.
Hello.
And on behalf of both of us, welcome to the Skirmish War Games 2020 Holiday Special. Today we'll be playing a rather festive game of Pulp Alley Second Edition using the Deadrise rules from the Pulp Alley scenario book. Now, Deadrise is a traditional zombie survival scenario taking place in a post-apocalyptic hellscape. However, since Lynn painted up a bunch of War and Christmas Village holiday minis this year, we're going to put them to good use and play a slightly modified scenario we call Deadrise in Christmas Village. So as the name implies, today's story will unfold in the magical hamlet of Christmas Village, the logistical center that supports Santa's workshop. All of Santa's manufacturing, however, actually takes place several miles up the road in a fortified compound that's hardened against magical, chemical, and biological attack. But Christmas Village here handles all the packaging, the logistics, the call center is here, and so nothing gets shipped and delivered without the fine folks of Christmas Village doing their work. Well, Krampus, unpainted Krampus, the scourge of the holiday season, has basically used his dark magics, and he has somehow summoned a cloud of anti-holiday spirit, a cloud of humbug that has moved in over the countryside and into the outskirts of Christmas Village, and it's basically corrupted all of the happy holiday creatures it's come in contact with. So Santa's reindeer and the animated snowmen and the local farmers and their farm animals and any local villagers who happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, they've all been corrupted and turned into a horde of mindless, hungry zombies whose only goal is to destroy and consume. But Santa and Mrs. Claus and the local marshal, the Red Gobbo, got the survivors into the town center. This is kind of where the database is and, the packaging center. And so it's pretty important. So they have to save the town center. And they have erected a rudimentary, around the edge here, a rudimentary magical barrier, which for the moment is holding the cloud of humbug at bay. And so they need to kind of defend this area. So the Red Gobbo says, listen, we can't do this by ourselves. So I'm going to fight my way through. I'm going to punch a hole through the ravening horde of consumption-oriented zombies and make it to the fortress, make it to the factory. And when I do, I will rouse the local security force and we'll come back in and we'll clean up this mess. Can you too, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, can you hold out for an hour or so I can do that? And they're saying, yeah, we need to protect the call center. We need to protect the packaging warehouse, the distribution hub. And so we're going to do that. Plus the workers. The workers are important too. But we got to protect the infrastructure. So we will do that. You go get the security forces and then come back. So this is not a typical Pulp Alley scenario by any means. Normally Pulp Alley is kind of a two-fisted pulp action type game where you have a hero, maybe a sidekick, some allies. Sort of in the vein of Indiana Jones or Doc Savage or The Shadow or Flash Gordon or any of those kind of pulp genre type heroes. But the game system itself is actually very flexible, so you could easily use Pulp Alley rules for a variety of tabletop skirmishes in almost any genre. So for today, we are taking the Deadrise zombie scenario, which just has one character for each player, and it's more of a survival type scenario. So anything outside of the magical barrier, it's considered perilous terrain. So we can go outside there, but we got to draw peril cards and make health checks and things like that if we're outside the barrier. So here's what's happening here. The magical barrier is successfully keeping out the cloud, and it's successfully keeping out the zombies. But the zombies keep falling into the river, and the river is carrying them into Christmas Village. And so Santa and Mrs. Claus are dealing with zombies that kind of hit this area here, which is kind of like a little eddy, a little whirlpool, and it's sort of the point where the zombies get pushed up against the shore, and that's where they come out. So somehow they're getting through the magical barrier by use of the river. So Santa and Mrs. Claus have to defend the area and fight off these zombies until the Red Gobbo can return with the security forces from Santa's workshop. So that's the plot of this year's holiday special. And we'll sort of walk you through the gameplay as we go. We are not experts by any means. I've read the book, we've played our practice game, and I've been watching a bunch of Dave's videos on the Pulp Alley YouTube channel, which are very informative. And so I think we have a grasp of some of the fundamentals. And that's kind of why we're doing a rather simple scenario today, because, it's just a good way to kind of break ourselves into the game and learn the rules. So this is a cooperative game because Santa and Mrs. Claus work together, though you could also play this particular scenario solo, or you could play it player versus player, but we're not doing that. This is cooperative. And let's see, what else? Victory conditions, we have to survive until turn 6. The river here is perilous terrain, so the zombies ignore perilous terrain, but Santa and Mrs. Claus have to deal with it. They have to do a peril check if they're trying to cross that. And also there are several magical artifacts. Yeah. We're going to have Coco the Wolf Dog, the Magic Medicine Bag, the Glock of St. Oglethorpe, and the Singing Sword of Shania. And so those artifacts will come up during the course of the game, or at least some of them, and then we have to try to collect them and use them in our fight against the zombie horde.
The Glock and the Singing Sword are very helpful for both of us. The Glock is good for me, and the Singing Sword is good for you.
Yeah, so Mrs. Claus is more of a ranged fighter. Both of these characters are level 3 Pulp Alley characters, which means they're sort of the equivalent of sidekicks. So Mrs. Claus is a ranged fighter. She has a crossbow. In this game, in this scenario, her range is limited to 12. Anything 6 inches or less is short range, so she gets a bonus. Santa Claus is a brawler, and so he is pretty tough. He's going to get to reroll his brawler might skill once per turn, and I think you get to reroll one of your shots once per turn.
Shoot or finesse.
One die, not the whole roll, but one die for both of these guys. And so if they can get their hands on the Singing Sword and or the Glock, that'll help the battle quite a bit. And I think the dog helps you if you're being attacked by multiple enemies, and Medicine Bag, I believe it helps during the recovery phase. Okay, so that's where we're at. We're going to start by rolling to see which one of us is the director. That is more important if you're playing a more typical game, player versus player, with multiple characters on the board. Since we're cooperative and we only have one character each, it doesn't really matter all that much, but we'll go through the motions just to kind of show you the mechanic. One thing you'll probably notice is that Pulp Alley requires a lot of dice. This is maybe overkill here, but I wanted to make sure we had what we needed. And that's because the game has been kind of simplified so that most of the stats you need, almost everything you need, is kind of on your card here. And your attributes are determined by the type of dice you roll and the number of them. So as you get wounded, for example, you become a little weaker. So Santa starts with a brawl of 4d8, and then once he gets wounded, he's down to 4d6, and then he's down, and he's got to make a recovery roll. So again, your type of dice and the number you get to roll sort of determine the strength of any particular attribute. So Santa is a better brawler. He is stronger, but Mrs. Claus, I think, has more finesse and is a better shooter. And the other thing is that Pulp Alley uses quite a few different types of cards. And these fortune cards actually serve a number of different purposes. They, sort of influence the game, but also if we need to draw a random number or whatever, we draw that card, or a peril, we draw that card, and the bottom half of the card gives us the information we need. So these serve multiple purposes during the game, which makes it kind of handy, and so we will be using those quite a bit. We also have special scenario cards for the Deadrise scenario, and the horror cards over here for the Deadrise scenario, and actually any horror-based Pulp Alley game. So we'll be showing you those as we go. Okay, I think that covers the basics more or less. We'll go over more things as we play the game, but now we're going to roll to see which one of us is the director of this broadcast network holiday special, and get started with Deadrise, the Christmas edition. So Santa has a 2, Mrs. Claus has a 1, Santa is the director, and the director status can change during the game. So for example, if Mrs. Claus wins a combat and she inflicts a wound on someone without receiving a wound back, then she would become the director. Or if one of us gets a reward, so in this case, if one of us collects an artifact, then we would become the director. Okay, so we are in turn 1. The Red Gobbo has started his journey to Santa's workshop. We hear his Grot Blasta firing furiously as he's trying to punch a hole through the zombie horde to get to the fortress.
He has a lot of grenades.
He's got a lot of grenades too, plus some kind of a magic wand there. So he has taken off, and in 6 turns he will return with help, hopefully, if he doesn't get devoured by the zombie horde. And so we start our turn by drawing 3 fortune cards. And normally if we were playing player versus player, there's yours, we would not show them to each other, but since we're cooperating, it doesn't really matter. So Santa has Uncanny, which gives him a +1 chance of rolling for a challenge. Danger. The enemy encounters a random peril. And Stay Down. When an enemy fails a health check, the enemy cannot roll a recovery check. So that's good. So I would play these at certain times during the game to help either me or Lynn, or to damage an enemy during the game.
So mine are pretty good too. We got Bad News, which adds 1 hit if an enemy takes a hit, which can be really good on zombies because the first hit on them does not count. So if we only get 1, that would mean the hit would go through. Sucker Punch, before you roll a brawl, you gain a +1 bonus, so that's good for Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And Misfortune. When an opponent plays a fortune card effect, the effect is canceled. So that one isn't really valid in this scenario.
Now, I don't think we can trade cards. So actually, Sucker Punch is before you roll a brawl, not any ally. So it'll just be if Mrs. Claus gets in a brawl, which she might. That could happen. So
She did in our practice game, and that was bad news.
That was bad news for Mrs. Claus. And as Lynn pointed out, the zombies or the animated snowmen or the other denizens of Christmas Village that have been corrupted by the cloud of humbug, they're not that strong in terms of fighting, but they ignore the first hit that they take. So if Santa gets into a combat with them and he only scores 1 hit, they ignore that. So I have to score at least 2 hits in combat to make it worth my while. So while they're not that strong, they resist damage initially. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Normally, if you were fighting an opponent and you got 1 hit through, you'd be pretty happy with that. But the zombies, you need at least 2 to make it worth your while. So we've each drawn our 3 fortune cards, and actually we should have placed our characters. So I'm going to go ahead and place Santa right here. And you have to place Mrs. Claus no closer than 12 inches to where Santa is.
I think we'll stay on the same side of the river so we can kind of keep the zombies down.
All right, we have placed our characters. We have drawn our fortune cards. And so turn 1, the first thing that happens is a zombie pops out of the river. So a zombie has fallen into the river somewhere outside the magical barrier. The current has carried him, her, or it into the village. And so we're going to roll a d8, and that'll determine the distance and the direction where the zombie pops out. So 6. So what is that? Kind of like over there by that tree, I think. So an animated snowman pops out, and it'll get a turn after Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus make their turns. And it moves according to some very fundamental instincts. So it is going to charge any character within 12 inches or move toward 6 inches toward any character if they're outside of 12 inches. And it'll just try to basically get in there and consume. And that's its job. So that is one animated snowman, and he is on the board. Okay, so Santa Claus is going to activate. I'm the director, and I'm going to say Santa activates. And he starts by drawing a scenario card, which says, Blood-curdling scream. Roll a horror check for your survivor. So Santa is getting ready to move. He hears a scream, maybe from inside one of the houses or from somewhere outside the barrier, and he's unnerved. So he's got to roll a horror check. So 1, 2, 3 means he fails. 4, 5, 6 means he succeeds. And another thing to remember is that universally, a 4 or better on any die is a success. So it doesn't matter whether you're using a D12, D8, D6. 4 or better is a success. So he needs a 4 or better, and he does. So he hears the scream, but he's not unnerved. So that is Santa's first scenario card. And he is going to... Santa is going to go over to this side of the river, up over the bridge, and over here. So he's out of line of sight of that zombie. So,
Gee, thanks.
well, I wasn't trying to get you in trouble. I wasn't really even thinking about it. I just thought, well, I'll get on this side so we're not all clustered together.
That was not helpful, Mr. Santa Claus.
Well, Santa is not known for being a deep thinker. He's more of a man of action. Okay, so that was Santa Claus's activation. Now here's Mrs. Claus over here.
So, scenario card. The survivor nearest to the edge of the table must roll a horror check. That would be me.
That would be you. Yeah, okay. So Mrs. Claus is nearest the edge. So she's unnerved by all those zombies outside the barrier. So she needs to roll 4, 5, or 6. And does not.
Of course not.
So because she didn't, she gets to pick a horror card.
How wonderful.
Rage. For the duration of this effect, this character receives +1 brawl, +1 might, cannot dodge. So you can recover from horror effects at the end of the turn. You can make a recovery roll to see if you can get rid of that. But for now, you've lost your dodge skill, but you've become surged with adrenaline. So she's amped up. Maybe she was getting into some candy canes or something before the battle, and now she's ready to fight. So even though she's a ranged fighter, she's got this card, which is now attached to her card. So that's Mrs. Claus. Okay, what's Mrs. Claus going to do?
Get away from the zombie, I think. I think she's going to do a run.
Okay, so in Pulp Alley, you can move 6 and then do an action. Or you can move 12, not do an action. You can still fight, though. Even if you move 12, you can rush an opponent up to 12 inches away and still fight. Or you can even shoot. If you move more than 6 inches and shoot, it's at a penalty, though, because you're running and gunning. So Mrs. Claus is going to do her full movement. So she could actually do her full movement and still shoot at that snowman.
Mm-hmm. But I have to be within 12 inches of him, which means he'll rush me.
Oh, to shoot him? Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, he can rush the full range of the crossbow if he sees you. So yeah, the snowman can't see Santa Claus because Santa Claus is on the other side of the big Christmas tree. He can see Mrs. Claus, though Mrs. Claus could shoot at him or move out of range, and then he would just kind of stagger in her direction.
I can try to knock him down.
Yeah, you get one good shot on him, you can knock him down, and if he fails his health check at the end of the turn, then he would be out. Yeah, so this scenario is very boxed in. Normally you'd be playing on a larger mat and have free reign to kind of move around. But in this scenario, they want you to be kind of in this smaller square. Anything outside of it is perilous. So we are more or less, I mean, we can operate outside the barrier, but it's dangerous.
So Mrs. Claus is going to move 3 inches up to the bridge, then 3 inches onto the bridge, and then she's going to shoot the snowman. And because she only moves 6 inches, there's no penalty for moving and shooting.
Okay, so we have Mrs. Claus on the bridge. She's going to shoot a crossbow bolt at the animated snowman there. The animated snowman has some cover from that tree, but Mrs. Claus is within short range. So when she rolls her attack dice, she'll get 1 extra die for being in short range. And when he rolls his health check, if he needs to, he'll get 1 extra die because of the cover. Okay, so Mrs. Claus must be on a sugar rage or something like that because she ran toward the abomination. And as kind of a shooty character, you get quite a few dice to roll when you're shooting the crossbow, right?
Yes, I get 48.
48, and so with short range, you would get 5d8.
Correct.
And you only need a 4 or better on each one of those to be a success. So even with cover, she's got a pretty good chance of taking out this snowman. So 3 successes. So normally, if a character was getting shot at, if he or she or it had a ranged weapon, they could shoot back because this is a shootout, or they could dodge. But zombies do not dodge. So zombies don't dodge, so he just needs to make a straight health check against these hits. And normally he would roll 1d6 against each of them, but because he's partially in cover, he gets an additional die. So he's going to roll 4d6. Any 4 plus will be a success. And so he got 2 successes on his health check. 1 failed. So the zombie snowman is injured. It doesn't matter how many hits he actually took. He failed the health check, and so he's injured. And for a zombie, that's enough to knock him down.
But at least he can't attack me this turn.
Right.
And that was my goal.
So that is the animated snowman who floated in on the icy river and was going to terrorize Christmas Village. But Mrs. Claus was quick on the trigger with the crossbow and took him out. So he is knocked over. When the recovery phase comes, he can either recover or if he doesn't recover, he'll be out of the game. So that's pretty good. The one thing about this scenario is we don't want to be overwhelmed with zombies. Toward the end of the practice game, I think I had 3 zombies on me and you had 2 zombies on you.
I had 3 too.
And so it's not what you can do because you're splitting up your attack dice and it's pretty overwhelming. So it's the end of the turn. That means it's the recovery phase. There are no active zombies. So this zombie is going to try to recover. He needs a 4, 5, or 6. He does recover, so he stands up. So the animated snowman stands up, pulls the crossbow bolt out of his carrot nose, and he's ready to fight some more. And then you can try to recover from your horror card if you want to. And you do not. That rage is still with you. That sugar high is still coursing through your veins. Okay, going into turn 2. That was actually a pretty good turn for us. We each get a fortune card. There's yours. And here is mine.
When an enemy activates, the enemy encounters a random peril.
Okay, looking at my cards. So I got a disarmed card, which is not that useful since zombies don't have any ranged weapons. But as I reviewed the cards I had, I do have stay down, which means I could have played that when the snowman got knocked down, and that would have prevented him from having a recovery check. But I forgot to play the card.
And then he would have been out.
And then he would have been out. So got to pay attention to that. It's hard when you're moving cameras and trying to play the game and remember the rules at the same time. I don't have that much bandwidth, so we will do our best. Okay, so turn 2, we've drawn our fortune cards. Now we have to generate a zombie. A zombie has washed in on the icy river. We roll a d8, and that'll determine distance and direction. So 1 is kind of this way. So another evil animated snowman emerges from the river. Okay, so this is animated snowman here. This abomination has washed in, and he's pretty close to Santa Claus. So Santa Claus was thinking he was going to get away from the snowman over here, and another one washed in. So life is like that sometimes. So you're the director, Lynn. Who's going to move first?
Let's activate Santa first and see if he can get the Glock when he draws his scenario card.
So it's Santa's activation then. He's going to draw his scenario card. And his scenario card is, they're everywhere. You must roll a horror check if there are 2 or more living dead within 12 inches. And I believe there are.
Yes.
Even though this guy's on the other side of the tree, then, okay, so Santa needs to roll a horror check. Santa is not one to be a scaredy cat, but seeing his friends and neighbors turned into a ravening horde of zombies has unnerved him somewhat. But he passes his horror check, so he's fine. So Santa is going to rush this zombie. Fortune favors the bold. He's going to rush in. He's going to attack. So Santa is a pretty good brawler. Would you like to roll for the zombie snowman? He gets 3d6s. Oh.
So 3 hits.
Yeah, 3 hits from Santa Claus. And
no hits
0 from the zombie. So, yeah, so that's good for Santa. So the zombie needs to make 3 health checks. I could spend my card, but I think I got a fairly good chance of getting at least 1 hit here. And I did. So the zombie had 1 health check, missed the other 2, so he is down. Actually, I got that wrong. This card is going to help me when that zombie tries to make his recovery check. So we will take stock of who's down and who's likely to recover and which is the biggest risk. And I'll play that card at the end maybe and prevent one of them from standing up. Okay, so that is Santa. And Santa is successful, so that makes me the director.
Can I have a scenario card, please?
1 scenario card.
Okay, so I got Dr. Feelgood's medicine bag. Place the bag marker 1d8 in a random direction from your character.
So you're going to roll a d8 to determine where that bag goes. And 4.
That way.
Okay, so Mrs. Claus is on the bridge right here. The medicine bag is right here. The zombie snowman is right there. And I guess you got some choices to make. Go for the bag, shoot the zombie.
I think I'm going to go for the bag because I can get to it and try to pick it up because I got 6 inches of movement.
Okay. So Mrs. Claus moves to the bag, takes an action to pick it up. Now, this counts as an objective, and so we got to go through a little objective process here. So the first thing is, so imagine Indiana Jones is trying to get the gold idol. First thing he does is he's got to dodge the poison dart. Then he's got to actually get the idol. So the first thing we do is we do a peril. So there's some kind of peril there. Let's say there's a zombified hand clinging to the handle of that medicine bag. So Mrs. Claus needs to roll against the cunning attribute on her character card. And you have to get 1 success.
So Mrs. Claus gets 2d6 because she's not very cunning.
And
but
she
I
does.
did it.
She gets it. So she passes the peril. She rips the zombified doctor's hand off the bag, tosses it in the river, And now she needs to see if she can actually undo the lock on the medicine bag to make it useful. So we draw another card. This is a might challenge of 1.
So might.
So again, we're not looking at the top part of the card, we're looking at the bottom part of the card, which kind of determines the number of the challenge and then the attribute we have to use. So actually, Mrs. Claus is not normally very mighty, but she's currently in a sugar-fueled rage. So that increases her might, which increases the number of dice she gets. So go ahead and roll. And
no,
you were not
still
successful.
Didn't do it. Ah.
You didn't do it.
So does it scatter or does it stay where it is?
In this case, it stays right where it is. And actually, had you had, let's say, a challenge of 2, and you'd had 1 success, you could actually bank 1 success for next turn, which means you were working on it. You almost had it, but not quite. Okay, so you have found the medicine bag, Dr. Feelgood's magic medicine bag.
So I would only have to do 1 challenge next time instead of 2.
Right, you have defeated the peril. You've dealt with the zombie hand clinging to the bag, but you haven't defeated the lock yet. So it's there. You can work on the lock, but you don't have to deal with the peril. Okay.
Zombie's turn.
So we have 1 zombie that's knocked over, so he's not doing anything, and we have another zombie here. And now I think I'm closer than you are.
Yep, definitely are.
He does have line of sight. So now the snowman can see Santa Claus, and so he is going to rush him. And if I had some kind of a missile weapon, I could do defensive fire if I wanted to. So yeah, you can brawl, you can dodge. If you have a missile weapon, you can do defensive fire, which is better for Mrs. Claus. She's better off shooting someone when they're rushing her than trying to brawl them. But Santa Claus is better trying to brawl with his lumber axe, and so that's what he's going to do.
And he already had 1 battle, so he's at -1 die.
Right. Yeah, so as Lynn pointed out, your fighting ability gets reduced every time you fight during a turn. So Santa has already fought 1 snowman, so now his fight skill is going to be reduced by 1 die fighting this other snowman. So instead of 4d8, he's going to get 3d8, and that snowman is going to get 3d6. The snowman is the attacker, so Santa Claus could choose to dodge, but he's just going to fight on. So you want to roll for the zombie snowman attacking Santa, and he gets 2 successes, 2 4+. And Santa gets 1 success. So if Santa was the attacker, he could use that 8 to block one of those successes from the zombie, but the zombie is the attacker, so basically the zombie got 2 hits, Santa got 1 hit. And Lynn pointed out, much to my dismay, that zombies aren't affected by a single hit. You have to get at least 2 hits through to make them do a health check.
I could use bad news and give you 1 more hit on him.
Oh, well, that would be quite nice. So as an early Christmas present, Mrs. Claus activates the bad news card, which means an enemy takes an extra hit when they get 1 or more, which gives Santa an additional hit to work with, which is very nice. So now the zombie will have to make a health check, and Santa will have to make a health check. So zombie, go ahead and roll his health there. And 1 success, 1 failure, so the zombie is down, which is good. And Santa's health, he's not wounded, so he's still rolling d8s. So he needs a 4+ on each of these. And he got it, so Santa's not injured, which is good.
So that was a very good Christmas present.
That was a good Christmas present. Thank you very much. Better than another set of socks.
Yes.
Let's see. So that is the undead turn. Now we go to recovery phase. So the only people to recover are these 2 zombies.
Well, I get to try to recover from my horror. Although, honestly, I kind of like that rage.
Okay. So Lynn has pointed out that rage is actually a pretty good card, even though it is supposed to be a detrimental card from the horror deck. For Mrs. Claus, she loses dodge, but it gives her +1 on her brawl and +1 on might. I don't know if you have to roll for recovery. I think maybe you can choose not to. So you're just going to stay in rage. You're going to have some more Twizzlers and some sugar cookies and stay raged. Let's see, what am I going to do? Santa is going to spend his stay down card to prevent one of those zombies from rolling recovery. So we'll automatically get rid of 1 zombie. That's probably the safe play. So
that is a good idea.
That zombie would normally get to roll recovery, but now he is out. And the other zombie needs a 4+ to recover, and he doesn't get it. So both zombies are out. So Santa's doing a little better in this game than we did on the previous one. And now we go to turn 3. Turn 3 of the zombie Christmas apocalypse.
1 fortune card each.
1 fortune card each.
And then a zombie. So I got Lucky Break. When you pass a challenge, draw 2 fortune cards. Ooh, that'll be nice.
Okay. I got Stumble. When an enemy takes 1 or more hits, move the enemy X in a random direction. And X is determined by drawing a card and looking at the little number on the bottom. So if I use this card, I'll draw another card, and that'll determine how many. Okay, first things first, we roll for another zombie.
So 2.
So this way, kind
Ooh.
of. So that is the zombie governess who floats in from the icy river. So Santa was breathing a sigh of relief because he just dispatched 2 zombie snowmen, but now the zombie governess arises from the icy river behind him. So that's not going to be good. All right, I guess I'm the director, and Lynn, you kind of said maybe Santa should go first because he might draw the Glock.
Yeah.
The sacred Glock of St. Oglethorpe, which would be handy to have. So, unfortunately, though, I didn't get a magical artifact. I drew a scenario event. You must roll a horror check, then place a living dead 1d8 inches from your survivor in a random direction. So that's really bad. So yeah, this is not an either-or proposition. I gotta roll a horror check and take anything bad that comes with that, and then also place a zombie within 1d8 inches of my location. So I got to do a horror check. I need a 4 or better. And I did.
That's
so that's good. Zombie from Santa's location. 4. So another zombie pops up 4 inches this way from Santa's location. And to everybody's horror, the zombie ends up being Zombie Blitzen. So Blitzen has succumbed to the cloud of humbug. He fell into the river, and I guess when he hit the bridge, he clambered on top of the bridge. So we can't put him under the bridge, so we're putting him on top of the bridge. So that is Zombie Blitzen, and he's shaking the cold river water from his antlers, and he's about ready to go after Santa. So bad news all around. Okay, so here's Santa. Here is the zombie governess emerging from the icy waters, and on top of the bridge is Zombie Blitzen.
So I'm thinking that you should probably go after the zombie reindeer, because if you go after the governess, you're going to have to do a peril check because of the dangerous terrain.
So the zombies aren't affected by perilous terrain. Santa Claus is, so he can't really go into the water. He can, but he'll have to do a check. So instead, he's going to run up the bridge and confront his old pal Blitzen, who is now in zombie form. All right, so wielding his firewood axe, Santa rushes up the bridge and confronts his old friend with a certain amount of trepidation because, yeah, it was one of his reindeers, but now it's been corrupted by the humbug cloud. So 48 for Santa's attack, 2 successes, 3 successes on the zombie reindeer. And the zombie reindeer gets 2 successes. So it is a furious battle on top of the bridge. Santa needs to make a health check twice. He gets 1 success, but he fails 1 health check, so he's actually injured. Takes 1 injury, which is going to knock him down to D6s for a while. And the reindeer fails 2 health checks, so it is knocked over. Okay, so Zombie Blitzen may recover, may not, we don't know, but Santa is actually injured. He's taken 1 injury, and so he's down from D8s to D6s. 1 more injury. If he takes 1 more injury, he'll be down. So that was Santa's turn. Now it's time for Mrs. Claus to do something, and you get a scenario card. Anything good?
Scavenge. Oh, the singing sword.
Yeah, let's see that card there. So this is the Scavenge Chainsaw, which in this scenario is the singing sword of Shania for cleaving your enemies in twain. It was forged by the elves years ago and used for the defense of Christmas Village, but in the ensuing melee with the attack of the zombies, it was lost, and Mrs. Claus has recovered it. So she hasn't recovered it, she just sees where it is, stuck in the frozen earth. So 1d8 in a random direction from your character. 8.
Into
this
perilous
way.
terrain.
Yeah, so it is outside the barrier. So this is a bit of a pickle because the singing sword of Shania, which Santa would really like to have, is about, what is it? About 3.5 inches outside the barrier. So someone would really have to want it to go after it, because you have to take a peril check when you enter perilous territory, and take a peril check every time you start your turn in perilous territory. So it is very perilous. So this is why no one can find it, is that it is outside the barrier. So Mrs. Claus will have to decide if she wants to risk it. But on the other hand, she's very close to the magic medicine bag, and she almost has the lock open, so maybe she'll go for that.
So the magic medicine bag isn't very useful for me right now because it allows you to roll right away to get rid of a horror card, but I kind of want to hold on to my rage card. So that singing sword, I can see it, and if you really want it, I'll go get it, but I would rather stay inside the barrier. So what I think I really should do is shoot that zombie governess before she rushes you.
So you're moving a little further away from the zombie whirlpool, the zombie emergence point, but you're still staying within your crossbow's max range.
Okay, so that'll work.
All right. So Mrs. Claus has moved over here, and she is going to shoot at the zombie governess over there to try to protect Santa Claus, which is very nice of you. So 4d8, right?
4 hits.
4 hits, 6, 5, 7, 4. 4 successes. That's great. So the zombie governess needs to make 4 health checks because of a well-placed crossbow bolt. Zombie governess needs a 4+ on each of these. She gets 2. So she rolled her health check, she failed twice, and so the zombie governess falls over, and she'll have to try to make a recovery check at the end of the turn. So Santa activated, fought the reindeer. Mrs. Claus activated, shot the governess, and now the zombies get to try to recover. So the zombie governess tries to recover.
No.
And she does not, so she gets washed away by the river. And zombie Blitzen
does not either. That's good.
Okay, so we're doing pretty good here.
So far we're doing good.
Better than the last game.
Yes.
Where we got overwhelmed. And also Santa gets to attempt to recover, so he's currently wounded. He needs a 4+ to recover, and he does. So he gets rid of that injury, which is great. So get rid of that injury. Okay.
So turn number 4.
Turn number 4, we are still looking for the appearance of Coco the Wolf Dog and the Glock of St. Oglethorpe, but we're doing pretty good anyway. Okay, so fortune card and fortune card.
Instead of drawing a challenge for one of your characters, the challenge is passed.
Oh, okay. So you could use that card on the bag if you wanted to, or you could wait to see if something else better pops up. I got another stay down, which is pretty helpful, so if I knock down a zombie, I can prevent it from making a recovery check. So that's cool. Okay, so the director, Lynn, has decided that Santa Claus is going to activate first. So he's going to start by drawing a scenario card and a man's best friend. So that is Coco the Wolf Dog. That's what we named her for this scenario. So place the dog 1d8 inches in a random direction from the character. And if Santa is able to reunite with Coco the Wolf Dog, then he doesn't have to deal with multiple fight penalties, which could be great because the more you fight in a turn, the weaker you get. All right. 8. All right, so Coco goes right about there.
Oh, we need a zombie too.
So Coco has appeared, probably because a zombie needed to appear at the first part of this turn. So that zombie is going to be 7 inches, kind of that way. So sort of on the step of the bridge, sort of right there. All right, who's that? Oh, that's the zombie top hat guy. So a top hat zombie, formerly known as Ebenezer Scrooge, has emerged from the icy river. Coco the Wolf Dog made an appearance, and now Santa's got to do something. So Santa would really like to reunite with Coco. Coco, I see you. It's a Festivus miracle. Okay, it looks like Santa is going to need more than 6 inches of movement to reach Coco the Wolf Dog. So Santa won't be able to perform an action this turn, so he'll have to wait till next turn to try to collect Coco as a plot point. Assuming, of course, that Santa doesn't get rushed by that top hat zombie in the meantime. All right, so now it's Mrs. Claus's turn to activate. So you want to make sure that Santa takes the brunt of the zombie attack.
So by taking 1 step back, that puts Santa closer to the zombie than me, but I'm still within 6 inches, so I get my +1 bonus to my shoot.
Santa's over here, so he'll be the one the zombie goes after, and then you can shoot your crossbow at short range. So,
because he's a much stronger brawler than me.
Mrs. Claus, how many dice at short range?
5d8.
A fistful of d8s. All right. And 3 successes, a 4, a 7, and a 5. So that's pretty good. So the zombie needs to make 3 health checks. Made 2, missed 1, so it goes down.
1 is enough.
Had you only scored 1, he wouldn't have to roll at all. But if you score 2 or 3, then he needs to make a die roll for each hit that goes through. So, and all the excitement, Lynn forgot to get her scenario card, so there might be something good in there. So we're going to draw that now. Another one, place X living dead. So we got to draw a card to see how many. 1d8 from the center of the table in a random direction. So we're going to draw a fortune card. And that says 1 in the corner, so only 1.
That's good.
So 1d8. It might mess up Santa's day, probably. 5, kind of back this way. So kind of here. All right. Zombie Jacob Marley pops up. Washes out of the river.
So zombie's turn.
Now it's the zombie's turn. So Santa Claus activated, moved closer to Coco the wolf dog. Mrs. Claus backed up and was so busy trying to shoot zombie Scrooge that she didn't notice the emergence of zombie Jacob Marley. Oh, and Lynn pointed out we've been forgetting the bonuses on our character cards too. So Santa gets a reroll, and also Mrs. Claus gets a reroll on her attack dice once a turn. So I probably could have used that, but we're doing okay. Okay, so now it is the zombie's turn. This zombie has a crossbow bolt in his chest, so he's been knocked over. So the only one we really have to worry about is zombie Jacob Marley, and Santa is the closest one to him. So that zombie is going to rush across the frozen river. He's going to basically just plow through, ignoring the current and the cold temperature, and attack Santa. So there's the story. Santa was trying to reunite with Coco the wolf dog and finds himself attacked in the back by that zombie. There's actually no facing, but cinematically it makes it more interesting. So Santa gets 4 d8s. Zombie Jacob Marley gets 3 d6s. And Santa has 3 successes, 4, 4, and a 6. And zombie Jacob Marley has 1. So if Santa was the attacker, he could have blocked that, but he's not. So the zombie gets 1 hit. Santa gets 3 hits. So the zombie needs to make 3 health checks. And misses 1, which is good, so he gets knocked over.
That's all that counts.
That's all that counts. And Santa needs to make 1 health check, and he does. He gets a 6.
All right, good job.
So Santa was trying to reunite with Coco the wolf dog. A zombie came charging across the water. The dog went, prompting Santa to spin around and introduce the zombie to his trusty wood axe. So that's where we're at right at the moment. Okay, so that's the zombie phase. Now we go to the recovery phase. Santa's not wounded, which is good. Mrs. Claus is not wounded. There's 2 zombies that could try to recover. I'm going to use stay down to get rid of Jacob Marley. So he's going to stay down. And zombie Ebenezer Scrooge, who's lying at the base of the bridge, he needs to roll a 4+. And he does. So he stands up. Okay. So that is turn 4. Now we move to turn 5. I think I'm the director because Santa was able to take out that zombie. So there is zombie Scrooge, Mrs. Claus, Santa Claus, and Coco the wolf dog. And now we're going into turn 5. So if we can survive this turn and then survive the next one, then help should arrive.
With the anti-humbug guns.
With the anti-humbug guns to help sweep away some of these zombies. So turn 5. We start by drawing some fortune cards. Actually, we start by generating a zombie. Let's not forget that. Rolling for distance and direction. 2. So a zombie moppet, an undead urchin, if you will, emerges from the icy river. Let's see, we draw a couple of fortune cards.
Yes, could be helpful.
1 for thee and 1 for me.
When an enemy activates, characters cannot run, rush, or attack for the remainder of the turn, which could be handy.
And I got steady aim, which means before you shoot, gain a +1 bonus. So that doesn't do me a whole lot of good.
That would have been a great one for me.
That would have been good for you. Santa's going to activate. He would love to reunite with Coco the wolf dog, but he's got 2 zombies to contend with, so perhaps the reunion will have to wait. My scenario card is Unseen Danger. Draw a random peril for your survivor. So, Santa has a might challenge. Only one.
Oh, he's good at might.
His might is 3d8. So as he was running toward Coco the wolf dog, he stepped in a bear trap, and now he needs to pry it off of his ankle. And he's fine. So he succeeded in the challenge. What could have been bad is that one card we got a turn or so ago, where it was a random number of zombies. We could have drawn a 3, and then we would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is Santa's scenario card. Here's my dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to rush across the river to that zombie because that's perilous terrain, and I feel like you could probably take care of that zombie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to
reunite with Coco.
Reunite with Coco the wolf dog.
Because if I fail, then both the zombies are going to come after you anyway.
Right. So we're going to reunite with Coco the wolf dog. So first we roll a challenge, which is going to be stepping in another bear trap. And cunning. I'm not that cunning. Santa's cunning is 2d6. So he needs to get 1 success to avoid the peril. And he doesn't. So he's got to make 1 health check. So he stepped in that bear trap. So I was going to roll for a health check because I failed that challenge. But actually I have a card. One of my fortune cards is uncanny. So after you roll for a challenge, add +1 success. So that would actually give me enough successes to complete the challenge. So I would have failed, but I'm going to play my card uncanny. And it was a Festivus miracle. And so that's the peril involved with Coco. And now I need to convince Coco that everything's okay, take the bacon strip, and we'll be reunited.
So you draw another peril.
So I draw another peril, but this is more of a challenge. And, shoot, finesse, or cunning. It is a 3 success challenge. Coco is very skeptical of Santa. Santa must be covered in, like, reindeer guts and stuff like that. Shoot, finesse, or cunning.
That would be a better one for me, not you.
The problem is that I cannot even succeed. I have a 2d6 on all of those. And so I need to get 3 successes. So all I can do is try to bank some successes. So I've completed the peril because of my card.
And
I got 1 success. Trying to convince Coco the wolf dog to come over, but...
Coco sniffed the bacon treat for a moment, but then she backed up.
So that's a partial success. All right. So that is Santa's turn. Now it is Mrs. Claus.
So first, Mrs. Claus draws a scenario card. The Deadrise. All survivors must roll a horror check, then move all living dead 1d6 towards the nearest survivor. That's bad. We both roll a horror check.
All right, Santa's going to roll his horror check. 3, he failed it.
What horrible thing happens to you? Oh.
Shaken. -1 finesse, -1 cunning, cannot rush any enemy. So that's not good.
Harsh.
So he's going to need to try to recover from that at the end of the turn. Otherwise, he can still fight if they rush him, but he can't rush anybody else.
Now Mrs. Claus rolls for a horror check.
You
Yay.
passed yours, though, so that's good.
I didn't need another horror card. That one's good.
Okay.
Now we move the living dead d6 inches towards the nearest survivor, which is Santa Claus.
3. So Zombie Scrooge moves 3 inches towards Santa Claus. Oh, yeah. And the zombie urchin crosses the river and approaches from the other side. Okay.
So for Mrs. Claus activation, I'm going to try to shoot Ebenezer before he gets into base-to-base contact with Santa.
Okay, so Mrs. Claus is going to shoot Ebenezer with the crossbow. Short range.
Still within short range, yes. So 5d8. That'll at least cut down one that's going to chomp on your toes.
So I can focus on the little poppet that emerged from the frozen river.
4.
Okay, that's 4 hits on Zombie Scrooge. Zombies can't dodge, so he needs to make 4 health checks. So you did 4 on Ebenezer. He's going to roll 4 pluses. And he gets 1, so Ebenezer goes down. Takes 1 zombie out of the equation. Okay, so that is Mrs. Claus's turn. Now it is the zombie turn. The only one left here is this puppet is going to charge Santa Claus. She's going to rush him. So she'll be attacking Santa Claus. 3d6. What'd you get?
2 successes.
2 successes. Santa got
2
2 successes.
So you both have to roll 2.
So I'm going to roll 2 health checks for Santa. And he failed both of them. So it doesn't matter how many health checks you fail, in any one turn you can only take one injury from the combat. So he is injured. Santa is injured and shaken.
So can you recover from both of them or only one?
You can roll a recovery for the wound and for the horror card. So the zombie urchin has to take 2 health checks. Fails both of them. So it is knocked over.
Now we roll recoveries.
Now it's the recovery phase. So Santa's going to try to recover from his injury. And he does, so that's good.
That's helpful.
Now he's going to try to recover from his shaken card. And he doesn't. He's still shaken, so he cannot rush anybody. And he can't really engage with Coco very well. Okay, and then Poppet Zombie is going to try to recover. And she does. So she stands up. Scrooge Zombie also stands up.
Oh my.
All right, that's the end of turn 5. Now we head into turn 6, the final turn of the game. And if Santa and Mrs. Claus could just survive through the end of turn 6, then by then the Red Gobbo and the security team from Santa's workshop should arrive, and they can help Santa and Mrs. Claus secure the center of Christmas Village, and the holidays will be saved. So first things first, we roll for a zombie. 2. Looks like we'll place it about 2 inches, kind of toward the lamppost. All right, another animated snowman. And then fortune card for you, fortune card for me. Everybody gets a fortune card. So we both do the distraction card. So when an enemy activates, the enemy suffers -1 might, finesse, and cunning during this activation. We play that at some point. So Mrs. Claus is going to activate first, and hopefully she'll shoot one of those 3 zombies. But before that happens, Lynn is going to draw a scenario card. And we got the Scavenge Shotgun, otherwise known as the Sacred Glock of St. Oglethorpe. So that's pretty cool. So that is a good shooter's artifact. And we roll D8.
D8 in a random direction.
6 this way. So on the other side of the wreath. So during the confusion of the battle, somebody hid the Sacred Glock of St. Oglethorpe under this wreath for future use, but never came back for it. But Mrs. Claus has seen it.
Since I know I'm going to use Parlay and not allow them to attack when it's their turn.
So you have a Parlay card, which you can use against the zombies.
I'm going to try to pick up the Glock.
Okay. All right, so Mrs. Claus is going after the Sacred Glock of St. Oglethorpe.
Now I have a challenge.
Okay. So she's trying to reach into the wreath, and there is an angry squirrel in there. So that's a challenge. And you have to roll might or finesse.
We'll roll finesse.
Okay.
Because it's 3d8.
2 successes. 2 successes on 3d8, and you get 1.
1. So I can bank 1?
No, this is the peril.
Oh.
So first you got to roll for a peril, and then you got to roll for another challenge to actually pick it up. So you reached your hand into the wreath. There was a rabid weasel in there, and now you've been bitten, and so you got to do 2 health checks from failing the peril.
That could be bad.
Rabid weasels ripped my flesh.
I'm very sad. I wanted that. And I failed it.
And you failed both of them. So that's only 1 injury, but Mrs. Claus is injured from failing the peril. Well, there was a guard weasel in there, and who knew?
I tried.
Okay, so that's Mrs. Claus. Okay, so now it's Santa's turn. This puppet has stood up, so I'm a little fuzzy on what that means for being engaged, but since we're still base to base, I'm going to assume that means we're still engaged. And Santa starts by drawing a scenario card. And the scenario card is Blood-Curdling Scream, so...
He heard Mrs. Claus scream after getting bitten by the weasel.
Oh, yeah! So Mrs. Claus got bit by a rabid weasel. He hears the scream. He's watching the puppet stand up in front of him, and so now he needs to roll a horror check, which he fails. So he needs to get a horror card.
Oh, no.
Hysteria. All right, so he's already shaken. Now he has hysteria. For the duration of this effect, this character receives -1 shoot, -1 brawl, and -1 dodge, and cannot run. So Santa is shaken. He's hysterical. And, yeah. And I guess he's going to try to fight that puppet. Anyway, so -1 brawl, so he's down to 3d8, and she gets 3d6. And so let's see how this works out. And I got 2 successes.
But you can re-roll 1.
I can re-roll 1. I've been forgetting about that. And still a 1. So, and she got 0 successes, which is good. So Santa got 2 hits on her. She rolls 2 health checks. And succeeds once, fails the other one. And so she goes down. So Santa is a mess. He is, let's see, -1 finesse, -1 cunning, -1 shoot, -1 brawl, -1 dodge, cannot run, cannot rush. So Mrs. Claus is activated, got bit by a rabid weasel. Santa activated, and he's hysterical. He did knock down this poppet, more by accident, because he was kind of flailing around. Coco, the wolf dog, is looking perplexed, is like, what's wrong with these people? And the zombie of Ebenezer Scrooge is moving in. Now,
and so is the other one.
So, oh, we got this other zombie over here. Okay, so it is now the zombie turn, and you're going to play a card, which is going to help us. So parley means that characters cannot run, rush, or attack for the remainder of this turn, which is probably good. So while the zombies can't run, they can still shamble, so they got to stay outside of 1 inch. So the one zombie moves in towards Santa. This other zombie can move a maximum of 6. And so the animated snowman is going to go here. And then we go to recovery, right? So zombie poppet is going to try to recover. She gets a 2, so she's gone. She's out of the game. So Santa's going to try to recover from his 2 horror cards. He has Shaken and Hysteria, so I'll do Shaken first. Doesn't recover from Shaken. And doesn't recover from Hysteria, so he's still hysterical.
And Mrs. Claus is going to try to recover from her weasel bite. And does not recover. Okay. We're getting worn down.
Okay.
It's a good thing it's the last turn.
So that is the end of turn 6, and just in the nick of time, when all seemed lost, through the mist, through the barrier, the cavalry has arrived. So the Christmas tree man has showed up. The Red Gobbo is here. Here's Saint Nick. He's shown up. And we also have some heavily armed elves. And they are all going to attempt to clean up Christmas Village here and make sure that the call center and the packaging center and logistics are all up and running in time for the holidays. So that is enough to kind of hold back the undead menace and, take out these last zombies and calm Santa down.
Bandage up Mrs. Claus's hand.
Yeah, bandage up Mrs. Claus's hand. Make sure she gets her rabies vaccine. And give Santa some Irish coffee with a healthy dose of whiskey in it to help calm him down.
And extra whipped cream, just for the joy of it.
That's right. All right, well, it was touch and go there for a second. You had a weasel bite, and I was hysterical.
It's a good thing I had parlay, because that wasn't going to be nice otherwise.
No. So, yeah, but we did survive until turn 6, until reinforcements arrived. Yeah, fortunately, the tree man knows some tree magic, and so he's going to get the fellow fir trees out there to soak up the humbug cloud and turn it into laughing gas, which will be fun for the holiday parties. So they're going to do that. And this all makes unpainted Krampus very unhappy, but the elves just said, hey, before next year, we'll get you painted, and then you won't be so grumpy. Okay, folks, well, as always, thank you very much for stopping by. We hope you enjoyed today's game. We sure did. If you like the things we do here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up. And of course, please visit us online at our website, skirmishwargames.com.